Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the February 26, 2025 Pittsburgh Board of Public Education and Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit Legislative Meeting. Would everyone please rise so that we can salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and before we all sit down, we are going to turn the meeting over to Ms. Ebony Pugh for a special presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. If I can have all the board members and everyone line up, please, for our Distinguished Achievement Awards. Tonight's legislative board meeting begins with the celebration of the outstanding achievements within our Pittsburgh Public Schools community. February is CTE Awareness Month and a perfect time to celebrate the achievements of our CTE students. On December 18, 2024, career and technical education students participated in the District 9 Skills USA regional competition. Skills USA is a national nonprofit organization that supports students preparing for careers in trade, technical, and skilled service occupations. Through healthy competition, Skills USA fosters education, fair play, strong work principles, and high ethical standards. This year's competition was co-hosted by Western Area and Greene County Career and Technology Centers. The following students earned a medal in their competition. First place medalists will go on to compete at the state level in April at the Hershey Lodge and Conference Center. Our gold medalists, who will be advancing to the state competition in April, are Jordan Shaw, of Pittsburgh Brashear Auto Technology Program, first place in automotive maintenance and light repair. And if we can hold all our applause to the end so everybody can hear what each kid did. Hello, everyone. Just like we're going to hold applause till the end. Thanks. Nakaya Gilmore of Westinghouse Cosmetology Program, first place, under 500. Isaiah Thompson, Brashear Impact Program, first place, extemporaneous speaking. Now our silver medalist, Sumaya Lattimore, Malign's Early Childhood Education Program, second place, prepared speech. Our next three silver medalists from the Pittsburgh Westinghouse Emergency Response Technology Program received the team award. Our next three silver medalists from the Pittsburgh Westinghouse Emergency Response Technology Program received the team award in crime scene investigation. They are Taylene Johnson and Will Mupita. Also getting a second place is Teron Singleton in photography from Alliance Entertainment Technology Program. Long Nguyen from Brashear Impact Program, second place, computer programming. And Quentin Starr, Brashear Impact Program, second place, related technical math. Our bronze medalists are Natasso Salver, Brashear Auto Technology Program, CTE demonstration. Shania Lucky, Westinghouse Base Program, third place for job interview. Josh Uber, Malign's Early Childhood Education Program, third place, action skills. And Jemiah Morris, third place, medical terminology. Our last three bronze medalists are a team from Carrick Health Careers Technology Program who took third place in the health knowledge category. They are Emma Bottorff, Carrick Health Careers Technology Program, third place, Health Knowledge Bowl, and Casey Scanlon and Lena Totu. They are accompanied today by their Skills USA advisors, Darcy Tyonis and Mike Medikosh, as well as the Executive Director of Career and Technical Education, Angela Mike. Let's give them all a round of applause. What? Okay, where?
She doesn't know she's in this one.
Okay. No. Yeah, that's it. Let's give all the CTE Skills USA a round of applause. Carnegie Museum. Let me let them go. I'm like, it's loud. Carnegie Museums of Pittsburgh, Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, the University of Pittsburgh, One Hood Media, and the August Wilson African American Cultural Center hosted the second iteration of Envisioning a Just Pittsburgh, an inclusive art competition that encouraged artists throughout southwestern Pennsylvania to share their visions for a just and equitable future. More than 100 individuals submitted powerful and thought-provoking work, and Pittsburgh Public Schools is proud to celebrate its student winners across the visual art, performance art, and literary art categories. Their compelling pieces have been exhibited at the Carnegie Museum of Natural History throughout February, and the original artwork is displayed at the August Wilson African American Cultural Center through March 31st. Our first winner is Aria Dutta from Pittsburgh Obama Academy, first place for the film Fishbone. Aria also spoke on the panel at Carnegie Museum earlier this month, February 8th. We have Anna Malone from Pittsburgh South Hill 6-8, who took first place in the visual arts with their piece, Pittsburgh for Everyone, Everyone for Pittsburgh. These students use their artistic talents to reflect on pressing social issues and envision a better, more equitable future. Congratulations to all of our winners. Okay, this concludes this evening's Distinguished Achievement Awards.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Pugh, and thank you and congratulations to all of our winners. And a special thanks not just to the parents, but also to Ms. Angela Mike and her team for the amazing work that you all do for our young people each and every day. All right. So now we will begin tonight's business, and I will call to order the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit Legislative Meeting. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the roll?
Parker,
Present.
Petrowski,
Here.
Dr. Reed,
Here.
Ms. Silk,
Here.
Ms. Delaferro,
Here.
Mr. Dean. Dean is absent. Ms. Wilson,
Here.
Ms. Yord,
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Here.
8 members present.
All right, will the board please turn to the minutes from January 29, 2025? Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions? Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the January 29, 2025 legislative meeting for the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson and Ms. Petrowski. Mr. Weiss, can you please, whoop, no, that's not this one. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes stand approved. The committee report on business and finance includes agenda items 25.01 through 26.01. Are there any questions or comments on this report? Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve the business and finance report?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson and Mr. Barker. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Parker,
Yes.
Petrowski,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Ms. Delaferro,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Yord,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
8 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Item 28.01 is the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit Financial and Travel Reports for January 2025. Are there any questions or comments on this report? Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Petrowski and Ms. Yord. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting stands adjourned. I would now like to call to order the February 26, 2025 meeting of the Pittsburgh Public Schools to order. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the roll?
Parker,
Present.
Petrowski,
Here.
Dr. Reed,
Here.
Ms. Silk,
Here.
Ms. Delaferro,
Here.
Mr. Dean. Dean is absent. Ms. Wilson,
Here.
Ms. Yord,
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Here.
8 members present.
Thank you. Will the board please turn to the minutes? Today we'll be approving the minutes from the January 29th, 2025 legislative session. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions? Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
Motion.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Ms. Talaferro and Ms. Silk. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The minutes stand approved. At this time, I'd like to read the executive session statement. In addition to the executive sessions announced at the legislative meeting of January 29, 2025, the board met in executive session on February 13th, February 19th, and immediately prior to this legislative session meeting to discuss various personnel matters that may include but are not limited to administrative vacancies and positions opened and closed. The board does not vote at executive session. The committee report on education is before you, submitted by Dr. Tracy Reed, chairperson, and the committee. The report includes agenda items 5.01 through 8.22. If you would please turn to agenda item 8.22, I'd like to give you the student expulsion numbers for this month. 3 students were expelled from school for 11 or more days. Under the education section, there were no items noted for further discussion at agenda review. Are there any questions or concerns at this time? Ms. Petrosky.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Walker. For policy items, I think I'm just going to list all of them, but 8.01 to 8.07, we did have some discussion last week during our agenda review, and then we did have members of the public, both through emails and our public comment period, raise some questions and concerns for clarification of language. And so I have asked Ms. Sattler, who is the solicitor who works with us on the pre-policy committee, to help with those revisions based on the comments from both the board, the public, and through emails. And so I was just going to read through them just to put them into record. They have already been amended. Excuse me. And the red line and clean version should be currently on board docs as I'm about to read them in. So there's not going to be additional changes from this, but I just wanted to read them in so that it was clear and to clear up any confusion. So beginning with policy 004, which is 8.03 on the items, was just doing some clarifying language. Ms. Wilson had pointed out that there were some typos, both on page 2, and I apologize since I don't have it up. It's probably a little difficult to follow for some of these kinds of typos, but it was really just some tense changes from need to needed. So establish and regularly review all board and district policies at least once every 4 years to determine if they are still needed or should be removed or updated. And so we clarified that language by fixing those typos. Policy 005, which is 8.04. Pages 3 and 4, we did have some discussion about district-required training. As we mentioned, we have the training required by PSBA that is required by state law, and that additional training was developed by Ms. Devin Talaferro, and so it is not at any additional cost to the board or to the district, and so it is up to the board members at that time to issue, whatever that training is that year, well, that second year for newly elected members. So I just wanted to clarify that. For 006, or item 805, when talking about standing committees and policy committees, there were some typos and some language re-added. So we included "and district policies" into the first sentence, which originally was struck to just say board policies. So we re-input district policies. And then "shall oversee and make recommendations related to board and district policies." I know that there was some confusion, about responsibility there, and so we added the language back in. 007 for meetings, which is item 8.06 tonight. This is all regarding, agenda review and order of business. So I know there was a lot of confusion about this, how many days prior to meetings and things like that. So for our agenda review beginning on page 2, beginning July 1st, 2025, the agenda, together with all relevant reports, shall be provided to each school director at least 10 days before, and we added the agenda review meeting, so we specified that meeting. As prior, it just said the meeting. On page 3, under order of business for legislative meetings, we added the word "be" into the sentence as a grammatical correction. So the order of business for regular meetings and special meetings called for general purposes shall be established by the president or a majority of those present and voting. Page 3, regarding the consent agenda, we updated the second paragraph to remove the 4-day submission of question requirement because there was some confusion with that among board members and public and just kind of mucked up the process a little bit. So it will now read, school directors who have questions about an item on the agenda shall submit those questions in writing as outlined in the agenda notification policy section above. To the extent that school directors do not receive satisfactory answers to their questions, items can be pulled from the consent agenda for a separate vote if 3 directors request that the item be pulled for a separate consideration by 5 p.m. on the day before the board meeting. And then lastly, in 007, we updated the last paragraph to remove the word pull and replaced with previously mentioned. So when voting on the consent agenda, board directors may specify which specific items they are voting on, or voting no on, or abstaining from, though no additional discussion is allowed if it was not previously removed from the consent agenda by normal procedure and placed as an item for deliberation. And for the abstention from voting, we removed the conflict of interest from campaign funds language in its entirety. I'm almost done. So 009, under Board Governance Standards Code of Ethics, this is 8.07. Under page 2, Standards for Effective School Governance, I know there was some confusion among the public about all of these various different plans that the board is responsible for, both in their own power and as dictated by state law. So we returned the following clauses: adopting a master facilities plan conducive to teaching and learning, adopting a plan for curriculum review and development, and working with the superintendent and community to establish strategic direction or the district by adopting and annually reviewing a comprehensive plan that describes the vision, mission, values, priorities, strategies, educational standards, and methods of assessment. Okay, so I know that's a lot and long-winded, but I felt the need to read it in because it was a lot of information. And like I said, the redlined and clean versions that I just read are on board docs. But I, of course, also welcome any additional questions about these policies that Ms. Sattler or I or other members of the committee can answer.
Ms. Short has her hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. And thank you, Ms. Petrowski, for reading those changes into the record. I am following along on board docs since I'm online, and at least from what I'm seeing, it does not look like the redline versions are the versions that you read into the record at this time. I don't know how big of an issue that is for voting, but it doesn't appear that the redline versions are the versions that you just read.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to our attention. And is Dave in the room? If Dave is in or out of the room, we're having a hard time with audio hearing folks. But Emma, I did get most of what you said.
Okay, awesome. And also I'd like to make a motion to amend the language on policy 007, which is item 8.06. I'd like to make a motion to amend the language about pulling items from the agenda, just to revise it to say that items can be pulled from the consent agenda for a separate vote if a written question was submitted and one director requests that the item be pulled. I've thought about it a lot over the last few days, and I think that requiring 3 directors is too much. So I'd like to change the language to just say 1 director.
Okay, we have an agenda amendment on the table. Is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
All right, is there, Mr. Weiss, are we allowed to have discussion on this amendment before we vote?
Yes, there can be discussion on the amendment. If it's approved, then the item will be voted on as changed. If it's not approved, then the item will remain as it is.
Okay.
You can have discussion on the amendment now.
Okay, and just to clarify, the amendment is to change the threshold for having the item removed from the consent agenda for a separate vote at that legislative meeting, not to be pulled from the agenda completely, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I will open up for discussion on this amendment. Ms. Petrowski?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Yord. I appreciate all of the work that all of these board members have. Sorry, I'm losing my words today, but I appreciate everybody's input on these policies. As you know, we haven't looked at them in a while, and so having a lot of changes requires a lot of sets of eyes. And honestly, I would support changing it from 3 to 1 simply because, one, it is our job to, you know, bring attention to items of concern and things like that. And if something changed, we got an email, a question from a constituent, or a situation may have changed or something, I think it is worth, you know, pulling items for discussion, even if it's on the consent agenda. You know, we have other mechanisms in place if somebody rambles on and on and on and on forever and doesn't have a point. So I don't think that there's any harm in additional discussion if an item warrants it. And additionally, frankly, there's, the political environment is a little volatile right now, and so very well could have to pull things from the agenda to talk about as things change like night and day. And so I think it's just something that makes sense in the reality that we live in today. So I would support that. Thank you, Ms. Yord.
Other thoughts or discussion? So I'll just say, I think, you know, the practical reason why we set the threshold at 3 is pretty straightforward, right? You need 5 votes for anything to move one direction or another. And I think there's a challenge to getting to that threshold when there is just one dissenting vote. And so anytime, you know, you can put in provisions that already begin to create a consensus around something, I think makes sense. But with that, you know, I don't know, I struggle with allowing one dissenting vote to filibuster something that will probably ultimately pass anyway. But we are here, and so if there are no other comments, unless Ms. Talaferro, I will let you go before we vote on this amendment.
Yeah, I just want to make comments just for what your theory. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I mean, as individual board members, no matter how a person shows up to this board table, as individual board members, we have a voice and a vote. I don't get the theory of, you know, having 3 people do it just makes it easier for you to get to 5. I mean, now we're just like counting votes, and I think we already do that in other ways anyways. So, I mean, I just think, I don't think that it would matter either way. I did have thoughts of like, you know, should it be at least a second, like we would do normally, but I don't even think that really matters. I think people should be able to identify an agenda item that needs to be pulled and further discussed. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that at all. So I am supportive of that particular amendment. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, thoughts? All right, Mr. Weiss, would you please call the vote on the amendment for policy 8.06?
Barker,
Yes.
Ostrowski,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Talaferro,
Yes.
Wilson,
I'm going to abstain.
Ms. Yord,
Yes.
Walker.
No.
Okay, the amendment is approved. 6 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention. So the item that you'll be voting on is amended to include the language that Ms. Yord just added onto the language that Ms. Petrowski just read.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to, just real quick, you know, we've had a ton of discussion around these policies and the, you know, the student focused or outcomes focused governance work that we have been undertaking as a board. And, you know, I think I understand, you know, that folks have concerns about, you know, some changes that are new or different and I guess frightening in some areas. It has been my experience through this work over the last year that much of what I'm hearing from the public is unfounded or untrue based off of my experience. And so I think as we look at this, I think it's important to recognize that, you know, any of the changes that we've made to these policies, you know, none of them remove power or authority from the board. None of them give additional powers or authority to the superintendent. None of them were meant to, you know, to strip anything, our abilities to do anything, whether it is hold the superintendent accountable, ask for reports, outline or define what student outcomes are in addition to state testing. If you have watched the monitoring sessions, you'll realize that not only does Dr. Walters and his team talk about the state testing assessments, but they also talk about the daily classroom diagnostic testing that happens that is not state related. And so what we're looking at is not necessarily a going back to a time when state testing scores were the end all be all, but we're looking at how do we create continuous improvement in our processes and in our youth and our young people that we're serving so that they can continue to improve through this educational process. You know, some of the changes that we made, especially around our committee structures, are not to prevent committees from happening, but it's to help the board not be bound by committees that may not be useful at the current time, and gives us the flexibility to adjust our meeting schedule and committee schedule as we see necessary. And then finally, you know, we've heard a lot about what has been deemed like anti-democratic, you know, the silencing of community voice in this effort. And I'd like to push back a little bit on that. I think, you know, the work that we've done outlines what we hope to be a new and continuous community engagement process that allows the board to go out and learn and hear from the community what it is they expect and want for the education of their kids, specifically around goal setting as a board, but also as a superintendent. And so while you may not agree with how we get this done, the what we're trying to do, I think there shouldn't be a ton of disagreement, if any, on. And so I'll just finish, you know, by saying that collectively, you know, this board has been pretty committed to this work. I know that the folks from the leadership team, through my conversations, have benefited from this work, and we are all looking forward to continuing to do this work by putting the outcomes of our students at the forefront of the work that we do. Because if our students aren't getting results, then we're not doing our job correctly. Yes, Ms. Wilson.
I have to agree. I don't understand how some people interpreted our changes in how we do our work as undemocratic, or that it was giving the superintendent total control. This was a means of streamlining the work that we do so that we can focus best on why we are actually here and how our students do in our schools, their outcomes, how they are achieving. That is really our main focus. That's what we are here to do. And there have been many things that have directed us into other directions. And we are now putting our direction back on the focus of what we do for our children. And some of the things that have been erroneously said, hopefully as we move forward, folks would understand that that is very far from the truth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Yes, Ms. Telfair.
Thank you, Director Walker. I just wanted to take a moment to speak on this conversation around student outcomes focused governance. I actually took the opportunity a couple weeks ago to meet with a few of the parents, both in my district and in other districts, around my stance and understanding of student outcomes focused governance. And I want to first thank those parents and individuals who came forward to just understand better why. But I also want to thank them for respecting that we can just have differences of opinion on this particular issue area, but at the end of the day, there is a job and a responsibility that I have as an elected school board director to make sure that our board is as effective and efficient as it possibly can when it comes to board governance, so that we are serving the children in the city of Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh Public Schools well in this seat. When we first, as a board, discussed student outcomes focused governance over 3 years ago, I wasn't certain what this could do and how this could add value to the work that we were doing. So I took it upon myself to participate in the SOFG governance cohort, where I spent 9 months studying and learning and better understanding the why behind what it is that we are charged to do. And as a board member, we lack real quality training and understanding of the role of a school board director and a role of board governance. That was very clear and apparent just a month or two after I was elected and sworn in to this board seat. And so I have spent time in a dysfunctional board. I have spent time with a board who lacked direction and understanding of their role, and so they dabbled in the roles of others. And it made it difficult to feel like we were moving and we were making strides towards the academic excellence and the outcomes of students. And when you sit in a volunteer elected board seat and see no movement or no progress in a school district because there isn't a structure or a framework to be able to do board governance well, it's a concern of mine. And so I have been supportive of student outcomes focused governance. I will continue to be supportive of the work, but I will also continue to push back on the narrative that we are losing power. I won't allow my power to be taken away from me, first of all. I spent a lot of my time and my effort doing this job as a school board director on top of my other life responsibilities. So I refuse to lose power. But I also understand that I am a middleman in the power, or middlewoman, so to say. That really I serve my constituents, parents, staff, and community members in District 2. And I serve, and when I sit at this board seat, it is because I am representing the vision and values of the community that I serve. And that was the thing that highlighted for me why I was supportive of student outcomes focused governance. I never seen this board engage community as a board for the purpose and understanding of the direction that they want to see that this district go in, and the charge that we have to give the superintendent to create outcomes, or to focus on the outcomes of our students so that we can know if he's doing his job well. And I think there's been a lot of, this is my second superintendent, and there's been a lot of issue with how the superintendent isn't serving this district well. But you can't know if that's happening if you don't even have a mechanism for how you evaluate and you don't see progress. And so I understand concern. I wish that there was concern that we just don't train school board members properly, and we could have had that concern 5 years ago. But here we are today. So I want to be able to say that because I know that there are a lot of people out there that understand my why and why I sit up here and do what I do. And I don't want you to feel as though I'm not listening to your voice, but I am only doing my job as a school board director, and I won't continue to move forward in a dysfunctional board that leads to the dysfunction of how this school district can function and how we serve children. So with that, I am done.
Thank you. And well said. Okay, if there are no other discussion items, can I have a motion and a second for a vote on the committee report on education?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Talaferro and Ms. Petrosky. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Parker,
Yes.
Petrosky,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes to the report as a whole, and I will abstain from 5.01 and 8.19.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Alfaro,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Yord,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Report's approved, 8-0, 5.01. Or approved, 7 yes and 1 abstention.
Excellent, thank you. The committee report on business and finances before you, submitted by Ms. Emma Yore, chairperson in the committee. The report includes agenda items 10.01 through 12.06. There were no items noted for further discussion at agenda review, but I want to open up space if there are questions or concerns that have come up since. Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve the committee report on business and finance?
So moved.
Motion.
Well, I could be a second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barker, and seconded by Ms. Talaferro. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Parker,
Yes.
Petrosky,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Alfaro,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Yord,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes,
Report's approved, 8-0.
thank you. We'll now move on to the Human Resources Report, item 13.01 through 14.09, including addendums A, B, and C, submitted by Ms. Sylvia Wilson, chairperson and the committee. Are there any questions or comments on this report? That's all of them. All right, seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve the Human Resources report including addendums A, B, and C?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson and Ms. Talaferro. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Parker,
Yes.
Petrosky,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Alfaro,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Yord,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Report's approved, 8-0.
Due to the end, the year-end closing activities, there will be no financial statements and controller report for this month. Does anyone have any questions about that? Now we'll move on to item 16.03, which is the EBE report. Are there any questions or comments on that? All right. Item 17.01 is a new business item, a resolution for Weiss Burkhart Kramer LLC to represent Flava Lawn in litigation filed in the Court of Common Pleas of Allegheny County. Just for a bit of reference, we're being asked to authorize the solicitor to represent this citizen in their dispute against the county regarding tax reassessments. Are there any questions or comments on this? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve new business item 17.01?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson, and this time we'll give it to Mr. Barker for the second. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Barker,
Yes.
Petrosky,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Alfaro,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Yord,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Report's approved 8-0.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. That officially ends our official business for tonight. I do want to open up space if there are board members that have announcements or comments that they'd like to share that do not require a legislative vote. Ms. Talaferro.
Thank you. So the first thing, I was going to ask this question, but then it was communicated that the presentation from last night and the full report are now posted on the website. So I just wanted to make sure that that was done because I thought about it after the fact last night, and I probably should have asked for, if and when that would be done. So it's already done for those who like to read a lot of documents. Have at it. So the second thing that I wanted to say really is to congratulate Angela Mike on having Angela Mike Day, which sounds amazing. But the county did give her a proclamation yesterday, I believe. So 2/25/25 is Angela Mike Day. But really, it's a day and a win for our CTE program. So I know that this is CTE Awareness Month, and I've always been impressed by the work that our career and technical education staff, with the leadership of Angela Mike, continues to do in elevating our students to the success that they really deserve, and to make them a little bit more prepared and ready for career life and whatever amazing things that they will do when they leave Pittsburgh Public Schools. So I just wanted to lift Miss Angela Mike for the work that she does, and all the amazing staff in the CTE program who go over and beyond making sure our students have the best experiences and that they're prepared for real world and real life. So thank you. And then the second or third, I guess, thing I wanted to share today, I had the privilege of being one of the main speakers for Fulton's Black History Month celebration, which is probably one of the things that I look forward to every year since the first time that I decided to run for school board. And I'm always so proud of all the work and effort that goes into making this day, and for the past 5 years that I've participated in it, making it special for the kids, to be able to see Black and brown professionals in their respective careers, from emergency medical services to, we had someone from the Pittsburgh Steelers, we had, a scientist, which is amazing, and I don't know if I've ever even seen a Black scientist before until I met this man. And so it's always just really impactful to me to see the way that people show up for our children, to share about their lives, their careers, and the things that they are most passionate about, and how they connect to their own personal Black history. So I want to thank everybody who participated, all the speakers who volunteered their time this morning to speak to the students. I want to thank the Fulton staff. That's always amazing to work with and support. The Fulton PTA is a group of powerhouse moms who just really care about making sure that the kids are taken care of. And so thank you to the Fulton parents, both present and the ones that have gone on. Their kids are now in middle school. And then also to the Fulton students who literally bring a smile to my face, like immediately walking into the door. So super proud. I got to also speak to the second grade class. And they were just phenomenal. So I want to thank them as well. And then finally, I want to thank our mayor, Ed Gainey, for always showing up for the students at Pittsburgh Fulton and inspiring them with his words. And he has done that for the past couple of years. And as a Fulton parent, former Fulton parent, he always continues to stay engaged and shows up for our children. And to me, you couldn't ask for a better person to represent their Black history in the work that he does in the city. So I want to publicly thank Mayor Gainey as well for showing up for the Fulton Black History Month celebration. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson?
Thank you. I'd like to add to the CTE programming that Angela Mike has continued to grow. I just might point out that our students who complete their programming and pass their testing earn many certifications and actually can go directly into the job market when they're done, if that's what they choose to do, or if they choose to go on to continuing education. It also saves many of them thousands and thousands of dollars if they go on and continue many of our CTE program students are actually doing internships and earning money while they're still in high school. I often get asked about the vocational programs we used to have because they think we have nothing in our schools anymore. Our CTE programs are class acts. They do great things for our kids. And earlier today, at the beginning of our meeting, we got a chance to see quite a few CTE students who have achieved greatness in the state competition. And it's just something that we should always remember and realize that Pittsburgh Public Schools does much for our students to ensure that they are succeeding and achieving. And we want to do more. At this time, too, we did acknowledge a lot of our programs at the beginning of the program. The kids have done well, and I usually talk about sports. And this month, I would like to report that our middle school winners for boys swimming and girls swimming they were both held by Colfax. Also in middle school, boys basketball, the championship was won by Colfax. The girls championship, middle school basketball champs were Allegheny. In high school, it was kind of unique to have both the boys and girls teams of Obama and Allderdice playing against each other. Allderdice became the winner in both of those team sports. Our team wrestling championship was Obama. Individual boys wrestling, 39 of our student wrestlers are going to regional championships this weekend at Canon McMillan. The top 5 in each weight class will go on to the state championships in 2 weeks. We also have individual girls wrestling. We're sending 3 girls to the regional championships this weekend at North Allegheny. Again, the top 4 of each weight class will go to the state championships in 2 weeks. And the boys swimming, actually it took place today. The boys swimming championship was Allderdice, as well as the girls swimming championship. And one more thing, we have unified bocce. 2 teams, one from Brashear, one from Carrick, are going to go to the division championships today at Baldwin High School. Unfortunately, the games were held already. The championship game was held. Unfortunately, neither of our teams advanced to the regional championships. However, we applaud the students for all the work that they do and their parents who also support them in their efforts. I think that's all I have for now. Thank you so much. I'll have more next week as a wrap-up of Black History Month.
All right. I don't know who you're talking to next week, but
We'll have to talk about it at the next legislative meeting to make sure to give acknowledgement to much of the successful programming for Black History Month that actually happens all year long.
Outstanding. I thought she scheduled a meeting that I wasn't aware of, but that's okay. I'm gonna piggyback on her last comment. I think today we approved for the Conroy flag football team to travel to Nashville, Tennessee, in a few weeks, and so by the time we come back for agenda review, they will be preparing to leave, and by the time we come back for legislative next month, we will know the results of that. But I wish them well in their preparation. And I just want to shout out the Special Olympics of PA for the work that they do, not just with our kids at Conroy, but with the unified program that sent our two bocce teams, and hope that we can continue to find ways to expand access to Special Olympics to all of our schools, because we have young men and women who can qualify to participate at each and every one of our schools, and so they don't have to be limited to a Conroy to participate. And so I look forward to continue working with them because it is truly amazing. And then the second is just a reminder, and I don't think it's too late. So if you're a Black man and you can read and you can show up at a school tomorrow, you should. I was not going to make it, but I cleared my schedule so that I could get to one of our schools tomorrow, and I'll be at Chartiers Early Childhood Center reading to some of our youngest learners tomorrow. And it is an exciting event that we will follow up next month with the Women Who Lead, and continue to show our young people what greatness looks like and how they can achieve that as well. So, if there are no others, I will entertain a motion and a second to adjourn for this evening.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Talaferro.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All who want to stay, say no. All right, thank you all. I know it's been a long week, but we got a lot of work done, and I appreciate all your efforts. Have a good night if you are out and about, and drive safe.